So I'm going to show now, I don't know how many buildings, but I'm going to somewhat historically, chronologically through about 7 or 8 buildings, some in more detail, obviously starting with the built ones. This is the Sony Center in Berlin, and show you how we kind of acquired this know-how. This is another thing, that what we can do today in these buildings actually requires all those years, so to speak, of training, of building up a know-how that you can kind of make the right decision, judgments based on what the client wants to do and what the client wants to spend and what the client wants to affect. Some of these buildings are much more expensive than other ones. Some do more, some do less. And this is kind of like in anything, in sports and in anything which performs, a car, an airplane. You know, there are various kind of levels. It's trying to design a building on a much more kind of rational basis. The Sony Center was to some degree what I call an American project. There was an American developer, Tishman Speyer, who worked for Sony International Company. I mean, when we promoted some of this idea, they said, forget it. You know, so we ended up still, as you can see, with a very transparent building. We ended up with natural ventilation. We used daylight. We had controllable shades. And what you see also in this designs here, that we put a lot of emphasis on what these buildings look at day and night. The lighting on the perimeter of the building is actually just one fluorescent tube, which is also part of the artificial lighting system. And when I say lighting the buildings at night, that doesn't mean shining lights on them, but that they actually become luminous, illuminated, and that they speak about the way they are constructed and the way they are, that they increase their transparency in order to reveal their various systems. You know, this building at Sony Center, you see it here in the background, is part of a huge complex of 7 buildings. It's an entertainment center around this forum. It's a film house, residential buildings, an entertainment center, and other office buildings. This is the footprint. It's a very simple footprint. It's based on its size and height. It's based on a master plan, and it has a fairly short lease span of about 7 meters, which is about 21 feet, which obviously allows in a European building, and I think in this case we cannot just always compare America and Europe the same way. It allows to use natural ventilation much more for conditioning the whole space than it allows in a building like that, which probably has a 40-foot lease span and then requires air conditioning to start with, and obviously once you have it, why open the windows, which and this is quite frankly a problem which nobody has really solved yet, because then the natural energy fights the conditioned energy. I'm showing on all the buildings kind of this footprint and this section, and here you see on this section how that structure on that building is very carefully designed. So, and the slab edge is a very thin slab edge. It maximizes the glazing. There's a operable window on the outside, every second bay, which brings the air in. There's a raised floor, and there's a suspended ceiling. And you see the lighting element, which kind of lights up to the spandrel panel, which then diffuses it. It's high efficient glasses. They got low E coating, which was at that time not standard, and the innovative construction idea on this building was that there were load-bearing glass mullions, which supported all the live load deflections. The curtain wall, the authorities did not allow to do also the dead load deflections. And this building has, there was obviously worries about breakage, and we had actually to use 2 mullions. Subsequent buildings we had to use 1 mullion. You see the operable windows, and you see that the density of this overlaying of this various system creates a very interesting texture. This is from the inside. We also used frit on that operable window, which is obviously a very good shading element. And so there's a lot of inside-outside exposure